I should have known something was wrong the moment I walked into my parents' kitchen and saw them all gathered there, wearing those fake smiles that always meant trouble. My brother Brad was perched on the granite counter like he owned the place, my father Jonas pacing near the window, and my mother Krista stirring her tea with mechanical precision. My name is Scarlett, and I've seen this scene play out too many times before. "Honey, we're so glad you could make it," my mother cooed, setting down her spoon with a gentle clink. "We have an amazing opportunity to discuss." I kept my coat on. Amazing opportunities in this house usually meant someone was about to ask me for money. "Can't stay long," I said, checking my watch. "I have a client meeting in an hour." Brad hopped off the counter. "This won't take long, sis. We've got it all figured out." He pulled out his phone, swiping through what looked like stock photos of luxury cars. "High-end car rentals. It's basically printing money. All these tech bros want Teslas and Lambos for the weekend, and we'll be the ones supplying them." "We just need a small favor," my father chimed in, finally stopping his pacing. "A co-signature on a business loan, that's all." I felt my stomach tighten. "How much?" $400,000, Brad said quickly, like ripping off a Band-Aid. "But hear me out." "No." The kitchen went silent. My mother's spoon clinked against her cup again. "Scarlett," she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "We're family. This is a real business opportunity. Your brother has done all the research." "Show me the business plan," I said. Brad's confidence wavered. "Well, we are still finalizing the details, but show me the market analysis, the competition research, the insurance quotes." I crossed my arms. "Show me anything concrete." "You always do this," Brad snapped. "You always think you're better than us just because you've got your fancy consulting job." My father stepped closer. "We fed you, clothed you, put you through college." "Which I paid back, with interest," I cut in. "Every single loan, every credit card charge, everything you put in my name without asking. I paid it all." "That's not fair," my mother whispered. "We were struggling then." "And now you want to struggle with $400,000 of my credit on the line? No, absolutely not." Brad stormed toward me, his face red. "You selfish bitch. You sit in your perfect little apartment while we're trying to build something here. Some sister you are." He shoved past me, nearly knocking me into the doorframe as he stormed out. My father followed him, muttering under his breath about ungrateful children. My mother approached slowly, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. "Just think about it, sweetheart. That's all we're asking." "I have thought about it. The answer is no, and it will always be no." I turned to leave but paused at the sight of the family laptop open on the dining room table. Something made me walk over, despite my mother's sudden movement to close it. Too late. I'd already seen the tab, a loan application form, partially filled out, with my name at the top. "Oh, I was just looking at some things," my mother said quickly. "For work?" I knew she hadn't worked in 3 years. "Right," I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. "I'm leaving now. And Mom, if I see any loan applications, credit cards, or accounts with my name on them that I didn't personally sign for, I won't be as forgiving as last time." "Scarlett, wait." But I was already walking out, my heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floors. In my car, I sat for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Then I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Nina? It's Scarlett Thomas. Remember that fraud alert system we discussed? I need it activated. Today." I started the engine, watching through the windshield as Brad paced in the driveway, gesturing angrily while talking on his phone. My father stood in the garage doorway, probably already planning their next move. They thought I was being difficult. They thought I was being selfish. What they didn't know was that I'd seen this coming months ago. And this time, I was ready. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Jyla. "How'd it go with the family?" I typed back. "They're planning something stupid. Again." Her response was immediate. "Need me to come over later?" "Yes. And bring wine. We have some planning to do." I pulled out of the driveway, catching one last glimpse of my mother watching from the kitchen window. She raised her hand in a weak wave, still playing the role of concerned mother. Little did they know, I wasn't playing anymore. "They did not," Jyla said, nearly spilling her wine. "A loan application, already filled out." I was curled up on my living room couch, scrolling through my credit monitoring app. Want to know the best part? They didn't even clear the browser history. I found searches for how to copy signatures and liability for co-signers. "Please tell me you took screenshots." I reached for my laptop. Every single one. Plus, I may have installed a keystroke logger on that family laptop last Christmas. You know, after the cell phone incident. Jayla set down her glass, her expression turning serious. "The one where Brad opened 5 lines in your name." "And maxed them all out within a week." I pulled up a folder of documents. "Cost me nearly 10 grand to fix my credit score after that mess. Mom swore he'd learned his lesson." "And you believed her?" "No. That's why I hired Bryant." Jayla leaned forward. "The PI. You never told me about that, because I knew you'd tell me I was being paranoid." I opened my email, showing her Bryant's latest report. "Turns out paranoia pays. Look at this. 3 credit report requests in the last week, all from their IP address." My phone buzzed. Speaking of Bryant. "Scarlett," his gruff voice came through. "You're going to want to see this. Sending you some files now." My laptop pinged with a new email. Inside were scans of loan applications, 5 different versions, each with slightly different attempts at my signature. "They're practicing," Bryant said, "and not just at home. Your brother's been using computers at the public library, probably trying to avoid detection. Want me to keep digging?" "Yes. And Bryant, check into any other potential victims. I doubt I'm the only one." After hanging up, I turned to Jayla, who was already reading through the files. "This is seriously messed up," she said. "Remember what you told me last time? That if they ever tried something like this again—" "I'd burn it all down," I finished. "I remember. So, what's the plan?" I pulled up another document, one I'd been working on for months. "Remember Nina at First Capital Bank? She's helped me set up a fraud alert system that would make the FBI jealous. The moment they try to submit any loan documents with my information, it triggers an automatic investigation. And then what?" "And then—" I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then we let them hang themselves with their own rope." My phone buzzed again, a text from my mother. "Honey, please call us. Your father has calmed down. We can discuss this like adults." Jayla read the message over my shoulder. Like adults? Where was the adult behavior when they were planning to forge your signature? I didn't respond to the text. Instead, I pulled up my contact list and dialed Rachel, my old friend who'd become a family attorney. "Scarlett?" Rachel answered on the second ring. "I was just about to call you." "Let me guess. They came to see you?" "Your father and brother were here this morning. They wanted me to look over some loan documents." She paused. Scarlett, as your friend, I should warn you. They're planning to forge my signature. Yes, and it's worse than that. They showed me their business plan, if you can call it that. It's completely unrealistic. They're projecting first-year revenues of $2 million with no solid basis. Even if they get the loan, this venture will crash within months. I rubbed my temples. And they expect me to be liable for the fallout. Exactly. Look, I had to tell you this. As an officer of the court, I'm obligated to report fraud if I see evidence of it. I know. And Rachel, when you do report it, make sure you mention the previous incidents too. There was a long pause. You're really going to let them face the consequences this time? They gave me no choice. I looked at the photo on my bookshelf, a family portrait from happier times. They're going to keep doing this, to me or someone else, unless someone stops them. After hanging up, I turned to Jayla, who had been quietly listening. You okay? She asked. No, I admitted, but I will be, once this is over. My phone buzzed one more time, an alert from my credit monitoring service. Someone had just tried to access my credit report again. It's starting, I said, showing Jayla the alert. They're making their move. She squeezed my hand. And we'll be ready. I looked at the family photo one last time before turning it face down. Yes, we will, because this time I'm not just protecting myself. I'm making sure they never do this to anyone else again. The marble floors of First Capital Bank echoed under my heels as Nina led me to her office. She closed the door behind us, her expression grim. Everything's set up exactly as you requested, she said, turning her monitor so I could see. Any loan application over $10,000 using your information will trigger immediate fraud protocols. We've also flagged your social security number across all our sister banks. I nodded, scanning the security measures. And the recording system? Active. Every phone call, every interaction. She leaned back in her chair. Scarlett, are you sure about this? Once these alerts go live, there's no going back. They're probably submitting the application as we speak. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from Bryant. They're at Midwest Lending. Your brother and father just walked in. Nina's office phone rang. She put it on speaker. Nina speaking. Hey, Nina, it's Mark from Midwest Lending. Got a situation here with a loan application that's flagged in your system. Name's Scarlett Thomas. I held my breath. Yes, Nina replied, her voice professional. What seems to be the issue? Got two gentlemen here saying they're her father and brother. They've got all her documentation, but something's triggering fraud alerts. Is Ms. Thomas present? No, but they say she's given authorization. Have a signed document right here. Nina looked at me. I shook my head. Mark, please hold the application. This needs to be investigated. Will do. Should I? Suddenly, my father's voice broke through in the background. This is ridiculous. I'm her father. We have all the paperwork right here. Sir, please calm down. Mark's voice became distant. I will not calm down. Call her. She'll tell you everything's fine. Nina muted the call. Want me to patch you through? No, I said. Let's see what they do. We unmuted just in time to hear Brad's voice. Look, there's been a mistake. Our sister authorized this. She's just busy with work. Here's her number. Call her yourself. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my mother. They're working together, I muttered. Mom's waiting by the phone to pretend to be me. Nina's eyes widened. That's actually impressive. In a horrible way. She turned back to the phone. Mark, please inform the gentleman that all communication needs to go through our fraud department now. And Mark, record everything. After ending the call, Nina pulled up another screen. Look at this. They tried 3 other banks this morning, all rejected because of our alerts. My phone buzzed again, a voice message from my mother. Honey, please call me back. There's been a mix-up at the bank. They just need verbal confirmation from you. It'll take 2 minutes. I played it for Nina, who was already typing notes. They're desperate, she said. Desperate people make mistakes. Good. I stood up. Let them make all the mistakes they want. Walking out of the bank, I called Bryant. How's it looking? They're getting sloppy, he said. Your brother just tried to use your old driver's license number, the one from 3 years ago. And your father. Well, let's just say I found some interesting connections to other fraud cases. Tell me. Ever heard of Uriel Patterson? No. Should I have? Because it's your father's alias. He's used it for at least 3 business loans in the past 5 years, all defaulted. I stopped walking. Send me everything. Back in my car, I watched my phone light up with increasingly frantic messages. Mom. Please call now. It's urgent. Brad. You're ruining everything. Dad. If you don't call the bank right now, you'll regret it. I started the engine just as a new message came in from an unknown number. It was a photo of my old signature, clearly scanned and edited. Last chance. The message read, either you help us, or we do this our way. I forwarded the message to Nina and Bryant, then called Jayla. They threatened me, I said when she answered. In writing. Perfect, she replied. That's exactly what we needed. They're at Midwest Lending right now, probably still trying to push the application through. Want me to drive by? I can record them leaving. Yes. And Jayla? Be careful. They're getting desperate. After hanging up, I sat in my car, watching the bank's security cameras through the app Nina had given me access to. On the screen, I could see my father gesturing wildly at a bank officer, Brad pacing behind him, both of them unaware that every word, every action was being recorded. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from Nina. They just tried to submit the application again, using a different signature this time. I smiled, but it wasn't happy. Got them. The trap was set. Now all I had to do was wait for them to spring it. Rachel's heels clicked against my hardwood floors as she paced, clutching a thick manila envelope. Her usual composed demeanor had cracked, revealing genuine concern. Before I show you these, she said, stopping in front of my kitchen island, I need you to understand something. Once you see them, there's no going back. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this to your family? I poured us both coffee. They're doing it to themselves? She placed the envelope on the counter, spreading out documents one by one. Your father's been busy. These are just from the past 3 years. I picked up the first document, a loan application with a clearly forged signature. Then another. And another. How many? 12 attempts, Rachel said, sipping her coffee. 3 successful, all defaulted. But here's where it gets interesting. She pulled out a separate file. Remember when your mother claimed you as a dependent on her taxes? What? I haven't lived with them in over a decade. Exactly. She's been claiming you for 2 years. The IRS might be very interested in that. My hand shook as I read through the tax documents. How did you get these? They came to me, remember. Wanted me to review their business plan. Left these in the folder by mistake. She leaned forward. Scarlett, this goes beyond just the car rental scheme. They've been running a systematic. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Olive, Brad's girlfriend, crying and visibly pregnant. I opened the door. Olive, what's wrong? She stumbled in, mascara running down her face. Brad's gone. The FBI was at our apartment this morning, asking questions, and he just disappeared. Rachel quickly gathered the documents, but not before Olive caught sight of them. Are those... Olive's eyes widened. Those look like the papers Brad was burning last night. Rachel and I exchanged glances. Sit down, I said, guiding Olive to the couch. Tell me exactly what happened. 2 agents showed up around 8, she said, wiping her eyes. They asked about some company called Summit Enterprises and someone named Uriel Patterson. Brad freaked out, said he had to make a call, and left. His phone's been off ever since. Rachel pulled out her laptop. Summit Enterprises. Yes, here it is. Registered to Uriel Patterson 3 years ago. Failed business venture. Defaulted on $250,000 in loans. That's not all, Olive said, her voice steadying. I found these in Brad's desk drawer last night. She pulled out her phone, showing us photos of multiple driver's licenses, all with different names, but my father's picture. When did you take these? I asked. After the FBI left. I'm not stupid, Scarlett. I'm 7 months pregnant and my boyfriend's involved in something illegal. I need to protect myself and my baby. Rachel was already typing. Olive, would you be willing to make a statement, officially? Will it help keep me out of trouble? It could, especially if you cooperate now before... My phone rang. Bryant. Turn on the news, he said without greeting. Channel 7. I grabbed the remote. The local news was showing footage of my father being escorted out of his office by FBI agents. Breaking news! Local businessman Jonas Thomas has been taken into custody in connection with a multi-state fraud investigation. Sources say the investigation involves identity theft, tax fraud, and multiple counts of loan fraud. Olive gasped. Oh, God. There's more, Bryant said in my ear. Your brother's wearing a wire. He made a deal 2 hours ago. He's turning state's evidence against your father. I felt the blood drain from my face. And my mother? IRS agents are at your parents' house right now. Rachel was watching me closely. What do you want to do? Before I could answer, another knock at the door. This time it was Jayla. You need to see this, she said, rushing in with her tablet. Your mother just posted this on Facebook. The post was a long, dramatic plea for sympathy. My daughter has betrayed our family. After everything we've done for her, she's working with the authorities to destroy us. Please pray for our family in this difficult time. She's trying to control the narrative, Rachel said. Classic manipulation tactic. Olive stood up suddenly. I need to go to the police. I have more documents at home. Things Brad asked me to hold on to. I can't be part of this. I'll take you, Rachel offered. We'll do this properly, legally. After they left, Jayla sat beside me on the couch, watching the news continue to unfold. You okay? I stared at my mother's Facebook post, at the comments already flooding in, some supporting her, others asking questions. No, I said honestly, but it needed to be done. My phone buzzed with a text from Nina. Federal agents want to meet with you tomorrow. They say you're not a target. They want your help building the case. I showed Jayla the message. Well, she said, squeezing my hand, You wanted to burn it all down. Yeah, I replied, watching another news report show my father in handcuffs. I just didn't expect it to feel like this. The federal building's interview room felt colder than it needed to be. 2 agents sat across from me, Agent Martinez and Agent Kelly, while Rachel sat beside me, occasionally squeezing my arm when questions got too personal. So, your father created Uriel Patterson in 2018? Martinez asked, sliding photos across the table. I didn't know about the alias until recently, I said, but the timeline fits. That's when they started pressuring me about co-signing loans. Kelly opened a laptop. We have footage from 3 different banks. Your brother's been very cooperative. The video showed Brad in what looked like another interview room, his face pale and drawn. Dad said it was foolproof. Use Scarlett's credit for the big loans, then create shell companies under fake names for the smaller ones. He said she owed us. Rachel leaned forward. My client wants to make it clear that she had no knowledge or involvement in any of these schemes. We know, Martinez said. That's why we're here. Ms. Thomas, your mother's tax returns show some interesting claims. They showed me documents, years of fraudulent deductions, fake charitable contributions, and my name listed as a dependent. There's more, Kelly added, pulling out another file. Your mother's been running a side business through your old college PayPal account. Did you know about this? My stomach dropped. What? The evidence was right there. Thousands of dollars in transactions, all under my old email address. A knock at the door interrupted us. Another agent entered, whispering something to Martinez. Well, Martinez said, it seems your brother just gave us something interesting. Your father had offshore accounts. I wouldn't know. Under the name Uriel Patterson, 3 of them. And guess whose social security number he used to open them? I closed my eyes. Mine. Rachel's grip on my arm tightened. We'll need copies of everything. Of course, Kelly said, but first there's someone who wants to speak with you. The door opened again, and Olive walked in, looking more composed than yesterday. I found more documents, she said, sitting down. Brad told me everything before he disappeared. About the fake companies, the credit card scams, everything. He said your dad has been doing this for decades, even before you were born. Martinez nodded. We know. We found his first alias from 1995. He's been working his way through family members' identities for years. My phone buzzed. A news alert. I showed it to Rachel. Your mother's been arrested, she read aloud. IRS agents found evidence of systematic tax fraud and identity theft in their home office. There's something else, Olive said quietly. Brad. He told me about other victims, other families. Your father would befriend struggling business owners, offer to help with loans. Kelly pulled out more photos. Faces I'd never seen before, lives ruined by my father's schemes. How many? I asked. We've identified 12 victims so far, Martinez said, but we're still digging. My phone buzzed again. Bryant this time. Found your brother. You're not going to believe where he is. Attached was a photo of Brad entering the FBI field office in Chicago. He's making a full confession, Bryant's next message read, trading everything he knows about your father's operations for immunity. I showed the messages to the agents. Yes, Kelly confirmed. Your brother's been working with our Chicago office since this morning. The evidence he's providing, it's substantial. Rachel checked her watch. I think we need a break. My client has been here for 3 hours. As we stood to leave, Martinez handed me a thick folder. "These are copies of everything we've found so far. Ms. Thomas, I know this isn't easy, but you did the right thing." In the hallway, Olive caught up with us. "Scarlett, wait. There's one more thing you should know. Those luxury cars your dad and Brad wanted to rent? They were never going to rent them. They were going to use them as collateral for more loans, then report them stolen for the insurance money." I felt sick. "How do you know this?" "Because I found the insurance applications, already filled out, just waiting for the cars to be stolen." She rubbed her pregnant belly nervously. "I turned everything over to the FBI this morning. I couldn't let my baby be born into this mess." My phone lit up with another news alert. "Local business owner's fraud scheme. Unravels. Dozens of victims coming forward." Rachel read it over my shoulder. "It's going to get worse before it gets better." "I know," I said, watching more FBI agents hurry past us with boxes of evidence. "But maybe that's exactly what needs to happen." The truth was finally coming out, piece by devastating piece. And somewhere in Chicago, my brother was telling federal agents everything they needed to know to make sure it never happened again. The local news vans had been parked outside my office building for 3 days when Jayla finally convinced me to face them. "You can't hide forever," she said, adjusting my blazer. "They're going to tell this story with or without your side." The reporters swarmed as soon as I stepped outside, microphones thrust toward my face, cameras flashing. "Ms. Thomas, did you know about your father's fraud schemes? How long has your family been stealing identities? Is it true your brother turned state's evidence?" I held up my hand, just as Rachel had coached me. "I'll make one statement. I am cooperating fully with federal authorities. Like many others, I was a victim of identity theft and financial fraud. I'll be pursuing all legal avenues to protect myself and assist in the investigation." "But these are your parents!" one reporter shouted. "Your own family!" Before I could respond, a sharp voice cut through the chaos. "And family should protect you, not exploit you." A woman pushed through the crowd, mid-40s, professionally dressed, with familiar eyes that made my heart stop. I'd seen those eyes in my father's old photos. "My name is Daria Wells," she announced to the reporters. "I'm Jonas Thomas's daughter from his first marriage, and I have my own story to tell about his fraud schemes." The reporters turned their attention to her like sharks scenting blood. Jayla grabbed my arm and pulled me back inside the building while Daria held their attention. "Did you know about her?" Jayla asked once we were safely in my office. "No," I whispered, "but it makes sense. Dad always got weird about his life before Mom." My phone rang. "Bryant, I see you've met your sister," he said without preamble. "I was about to call you about her. She's legitimate. DNA match and everything. And guess what? Your father used her identity too, back in the 90s. Destroyed her credit when she was just starting college." A knock at my office door interrupted us. It was Daria herself, looking somewhat apologetic. "Sorry about ambushing you like that," she said, entering. "But I've been trying to find the right moment to introduce myself for weeks." I gestured for her to sit. "How long have you known about me?" "Years, but our father made it clear I should stay away." She pulled out a folder. "I'm actually an investigative journalist. I've been tracking his schemes since he ruined my credit 25 years ago. When I saw the news break about his arrest, I knew it was time." My computer pinged with an email alert. Rachel sending news updates. I opened it while Daria continued. "Your brother Brad reached out to me last month," she said. before everything fell apart. He wanted to warn me that Dad was planning to use my identity again. He found my old documents in their home office. Jailer, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Is that why Brad turned on them? Because he found out about you? Partly. Daria smiled grimly. He also found out I wasn't the only secret sibling. My email from Rachel suddenly made horrible sense. The subject line read, DNA records, J. Thomas paternity suits, 1990-2005. How many? I asked, not sure I wanted the answer. 3 that I've confirmed, Daria replied. All of us had our identities used for his schemes at some point. The difference is, you fought back. You're the first one who managed to stop him. My phone buzzed with a text from Olive. Your mother's asking to make a deal. She says she has evidence about other victims. I showed the message to Daria, who nodded. Classic move. She's trying to save herself. Will it work? No, she said firmly, because I have 25 years of evidence that shows she was just as involved as he was, including what she did to you. Another email popped up, this one from Nina at the bank. Attached was a video file of my mother trying to impersonate me over the phone to approve a loan. The prosecutors have everything they need, Daria continued. Brad's testimony, the bank records, the fake IDs, the offshore accounts. It's over. As if to confirm her words, my phone lit up with breaking news. Local business owner and wife indicted on multiple fraud charges, decades of schemes exposed. Daria stood up. I should go. I have a story to file. But Scarlett? She paused at the door. Thank you for being brave enough to do what none of us could. After she left, Jailer handed me a tissue I hadn't realized I needed. You okay? I looked at the news article, at the photos of my parents in handcuffs, at the growing list of charges and victims. No, I said honestly, but I will be. We all will be. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from an unknown number, a photo of a handwritten letter from my mother, sent from jail. You always thought you were better than us. You were right. I deleted it without responding. Some messages didn't deserve an answer. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as I sat on the hard wooden bench, watching people file into the courtroom. Rachel sat beside me, reviewing last-minute documents, while Jailer kept a protective hand on my shoulder. You don't have to stay for this, Rachel reminded me. Your written statement is enough. I need to see it, I said. All of it. Inside, the courtroom filled quickly. Journalists with notepads, victims I'd never met but whose stories I now knew, and my newly discovered siblings, Daria and 2 others who shared our father's eyes. My parents entered separately, my father in an orange jumpsuit, shoulders slumped, looking older than his 60 years. My mother, still trying to maintain dignity in her prison-issued clothes, scanning the room until she found me. I met her gaze steadily until she looked away. First. Brad was last, escorted in by federal marshals. He'd lost weight, his designer clothes replaced by a cheap suit. He didn't look at any of us. The proceedings began with the prosecution's opening statement. Your Honor, what we have here is not just a case of financial fraud. This is a systematic, decades-long exploitation of family members, friends, and vulnerable individuals. I watched my father's face as the evidence mounted. Bank records, forged documents, fake IDs, the offshore accounts, each piece another nail in the coffin he'd built himself. Then, Nina took the stand. Ms. Thomas came to me months ago, she testified, requesting enhanced security measures on her accounts. She predicted her family would attempt to use her identity fraudulently, and she was right. My father's attorney objected, but Nina continued. We have recorded phone calls of Mrs. Thomas attempting to impersonate her daughter, video footage of Mr. Thomas and his son attempting to submit forged loan documents. This wasn't a one-time act of desperation. This was calculated. Brad's testimony came next. He spoke quietly, avoiding everyone's eyes. Dad said it was just business. He explained. Said everyone did it. We started small, cell phone accounts, credit cards, then bigger loans. He had a system. Find someone who trusted us, usually family. Use their information. Create fake businesses as fronts. By the time they figured it out, we'd be gone. My mother's face hardened with each word. When it was her turn to speak, she tried a different approach. Everything I did was for my family, she pleaded. We were struggling. We needed— Mrs. Thomas, the judge interrupted. Bank records show you spent $50,000 at luxury retailers last year alone, using credit cards opened in your daughter's name. How was that for family? She had no answer. The victim spoke next. A parade of broken trust and ruined lives. He was my best friend's father, one man testified. I trusted him with my business plans. Next thing I knew, my identity was used to secure loans I never saw a penny of. She convinced me to invest in their company, a woman added, pointing at my mother. Said it was a sure thing. Then I found out they'd opened 3 more credit cards in my name. During a brief recess, Daria approached me in the hallway. There's something you should see, she said, holding out her phone. Your mother's been writing a blog from jail, playing victim, saying you orchestrated this whole thing out of jealousy. I skimmed the posts, feeling nothing but tired. Let her write. The evidence speaks for itself. Back in the courtroom, the judge addressed my father directly. Mr. Thomas, you systematically destroyed the lives of people who trusted you. Your own children, your friends, innocent people whose only crime was believing in you. The court cannot ignore the calculated nature of these crimes. The sentences came down like thunderbolts. 20 years for my father, 15 for my mother. Brad received 5 years probation in exchange for his cooperation. The restitution amounts were in the millions. As they were led away, my mother turned to me one last time. We gave you everything, she said, her voice breaking. No, I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. You took everything, from me, from them, from everyone who trusted you. And now you've lost everything. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and questions. But it was Nina who caught my attention, standing quietly to the side. Your fail-safe system, she said when I approached. We're implementing it across all our branches now, making it standard procedure. You might have saved countless others from going through this. Daria joined us, along with my other newly discovered siblings. We should talk, she said. All of us, maybe over dinner. I looked at these strangers who shared my blood and my story, at Jayla and Rachel who had stood by me, at the victims leaving the courthouse with a mixture of relief and sadness on their faces. Dinner sounds good, I said. I think we all have stories to share. Behind us, the courthouse doors closed on my parents' crimes. Ahead lay something new, a different kind of family, built on truth instead of lies. The last box from my parents' house sat unopened on my kitchen counter, while Daria and my other siblings, Mark and Sarah, sorted through photos at the dining table. Look at this one, Daria said, holding up a faded picture. Dad with his first Porsche, probably bought with someone else's credit. The car's still in the impound lot, Rachel said, walking in with fresh coffee. Along with 6 others registered under different aliases, my phone buzzed. Olive sending an ultrasound photo. "It's a girl," her message read. "I'm naming her Hope." "Speaking of hope," Mark said, pulling out a folder, "the Victim Restitution Fund is set up. The FBI seized enough assets to cover about 60% of the losses." Sarah, the youngest of our surprise siblings, looked up from her laptop. "My story about the case goes live tomorrow. The network wants to turn it into a documentary series, as long as it helps people recognize the warning signs," I said, finally opening the last box. Inside, beneath old papers and receipts, I found a familiar notebook, my mother's handwriting detailing every scheme, every victim, every dollar stolen. "That's evidence," Rachel warned, but I shook my head. "Not anymore. The case is closed. This is—" I flipped through pages of my childhood mixed with fraud calculations. "This is just a reminder." The doorbell rang. Nina and Bryant stood outside with jailer. "Final report from the Financial Crimes Unit," Bryant said, handing me a thick envelope. "They've identified every victim, every account. It's really over." Nina added, "The new security protocols are working. We've already caught 3 similar fraud attempts at different branches." "Good," I said, letting them in. "That's what matters." Jayla carried in a bottle of champagne. "I think we all need this." As she poured glasses, my phone lit up with a notification, a new blog post from my mother, written from prison. "My daughter thinks she's won. She thinks exposing our family's private business makes her righteous. But she'll learn. Family is all we have." Daria took my phone and deleted the notification. "She's wrong, you know. Family isn't just blood. It's trust. It's truth." "Speaking of truth," Bryant interjected, "your brother Brad sent this from prison." He handed me a letter. "Dear Scarlett, I know it's too late for apologies, but you were right. About everything. Dad's schemes, Mom's manipulation, my weakness. I'm in therapy now, learning why I always followed them, why I helped hurt people. I hope someday you can forgive me, but I understand if you don't. Brad." Sarah squeezed my hand. "You don't have to decide about forgiveness right now." "Or ever," Mark added. Nina raised her glass. 2 new beginnings, and better security measures. Everyone laughed, but she was right. The systems we'd put in place were already protecting others. My parents' schemes had built an empire of pain, but its collapse was building something better. "The FBI wants you to consult on other family fraud cases," Bryant mentioned. "Your insight could help spot patterns." "And the bank's promoting me to head of security protocols," Nina added. "Using your case as a template." Rachel pulled out her phone. "The victim support group meets next week. They'd like you all to speak, share your stories, help others spot the warning signs." I looked around my kitchen, at my newfound siblings, at the friends who'd become family, at the evidence of a life rebuilt from ruins. "You know what Mom used to say?" I picked up her notebook one last time. "Family protects its own." She was right about that, just wrong about what family means. Jayla started collecting the empty glasses. "So what now?" "Now?" I smiled, dropping the notebook into the shredder. "Now we build something better, together." My phone buzzed one final time, a message from Olive. "Hospital just called. Brad tried to use my insurance for some bogus claim, but your security flags caught it." "Thank you." I showed the message to everyone. "See?" Nina said. "The system works." "The system works," I agreed, because we worked together. Outside, the sun was setting on another day in our new normal. No more secrets, No more schemes. No more sacrificing truth for the sake of toxic loyalty. Daria raised her glass again. To the family we choose. And to the truth we protect, Sarah added. To karma, Mark said with a grin. To consequences, Rachel finished. I looked at my mother's shredded notebook, at the family photos showing years of lies, at the new family gathered in my kitchen built on honesty instead. To all of it, I said. The ending. And the beginning. They thought I was their safety net. Instead, I became their reckoning. And from those ashes, something real could finally grow.